You think surviving a collapse is all about bunkers, guns, and hoarding supplies? Think again. When the grid fails, stores empty out, and life becomes a fight for basics, it's not the flashy prepper gear that's going to save you. It's the small, overlooked items already sitting in your home. The ones collecting dust in your junk drawer, sitting in your garage, or stashed under the sink. The stuff most people wouldn't give a second thought to until they need it. Here's the brutal truth. When chaos hits, you're not going to have time or money to figure out what matters. And you'll wish you'd paid attention to the cheap, everyday tools that actually make the difference between survival and failure. This isn't about fear-mongering or wasting your money. It's about common sense, seeing the value before everyone else does and shelves are cleared out. Today, we're breaking down 7 household items that might look cheap and ordinary now, but could become priceless when disaster strikes. Stick around, because once you see how handy these overlooked tools are, you'll never take them for granted again. Hit subscribe and buckle up. This is survival stripped down to the basics. Point 1. The power of a clean spray bottle. When you think of survival, the last thing crossing your mind might be a plastic spray bottle. But in a world where everything falls apart, that humble bottle under your sink could prove far more valuable than the high-tech gadgets you thought you needed. It's a tool of adaptability, one that'll keep you clean, cool, and most importantly, alive when chaos reigns. Here's the thing. When sanitation collapses, there's no room for error. No running water, no wipes, no backup. Germs spread fast, and infection takes you out quicker than you think. A spray bottle, once cleaned and repurposed, transforms into a portable precision disinfection system. Fill it with diluted bleach, vinegar, or alcohol. Suddenly, you've got a weapon against the grime and bacteria taking over your cooking tools, surfaces, or even wounds. But it's not just about fighting germs. Imagine you're deep in a heat wave, no air conditioning, and the only relief might be the drop of water left in your canteen. A bottle filled with clean water can act as a lifesaver. Spray it on your face, around your neck, or under your arms to cool yourself or anyone else in a critical condition. Dehydration and heat stroke don't play nice, especially when kids or the elderly are involved. This is how you fight back when shade alone isn't enough. It doesn't stop there. Spray bottles become your best friend in rationing water for hygiene. A quick spray replaces a full rinse. Smack some soap on your hands, scrub, and rinse it all off in 3 sprays instead of pouring out a gallon. Use it for cleaning gear, prepping food, or even hydrating pets. Efficiency is survival, and these bottles make every drop count. Now, here's where spray bottles show their unexpected versatility. You're stuck in bad weather, cold and wet, trying to start a fire. Guess what? That same bottle becomes an ignition tool. Fill it with alcohol or any other accelerant, and you've got controlled spray ignition to fire up some heat in conditions where a simple match would just mock you. Wind, rain, damp kindling, none of it stands a chance. Another overlooked use? Animal deterrence. Load it with fragrant substances like vinegar or ammonia and spray a perimeter around your camp. Hungry pests and critters are less likely to roll in when the scent burns their sensitive noses. Last but not least, understand its trade value. Show up with a functioning spray bottle filled with a disinfecting solution or even just clean water, and you've got leverage. Back in the day, people would trade spices for goods. Now, they'll trade batteries, blankets, or even food just to keep things clean. I stockpile spray bottles. 3 go in every bag I pack. 1 for hygiene, 1 for disinfection, and 1 multi-purpose. All cleaned, tested, and labeled. The question is, how many are sitting ignored in your home right now? Remember, when the grid's out, the people who relied on comfort and convenience won't make it long. The ones with 99-cent multi-tools like these? They're the ones who adapt and thrive. Point 2. The steel nail file, more utility than meets the eye. What's a steel nail file actually worth? For most people, it's a throwaway grooming tool. Something to chuck in a bathroom drawer. Snag a nail on and curse when you can't find it. But in the aftermath of a collapse, that same nail file? A weapon of precision that punches far above its weight. Survival doesn't reward those with toolbox-sized gear. It rewards those who know how to get maximum value from the small stuff. First off, think about what a steel nail file can do for you as a compact problem solver. It's unbeatable for fine scraping tasks, like striking a spark from a ferro rod. You might think your big blade's good enough for the job, but you'll quickly realize it's a fool's errand. A nail file fits where knives can't. Tight spots, nitty-gritty scraping, all without risking the wear or breakage of your larger tools. And yes, it works in low light and tricky conditions without fail. Second, the abrasive surface makes it a lifesaver for blade maintenance. Dull, blunt knives or tools will become your bane when ropes need cutting or gear needs fixing. While it's no high-grade whetstone, it's good enough to restore functionality to anything with an edge. giving you that critical 30% boost in performance you'd otherwise sorely miss. The nail file doesn't just stop at tools. It's surprisingly versatile for medical emergencies. Got a splinter deep in your foot? Use it to grind away at the surface and extract it without letting dirt and infection seep into the wound. Hardened calluses tearing your skin apart after weeks of walking nonstop? A good file helps keep them manageable. Plus, in a world where bandages are precious, need to cut gauze? That file gets the job done. Even outside of the obvious, nail files can pinch hit for improvised lockpicking, prying open jammed compartments, or as a quick and dirty way to scrape rust off of metallic surfaces. You'd be surprised when barter kicks in too. Someone's gear jams or needs sharpening, and you're the person who can fix it. They'll trade food or something even more essential just to get their tech working again. How do I handle nail files? I carry at least 2 everywhere. One in my hygiene pack for first aid and personal maintenance, and one in my repair kit paired with my ferro rod, both wrapped in cloth to keep them clean and dry. Small? Yeah, but what they lack in size, they make up for in value. Point 3. Clockwork discipline. Why the humble alarm clock will keep you alive. Once upon a time, people relied on good old-fashioned alarm clocks to keep their world turning. But now, they sit forgotten, eclipsed by smartphone dependency. Yet when the collapse hits and your shiny phone turns into an overpriced paperweight, these bygone gadgets reclaim their glory. Time is survival, and clock management is the linchpin for order when chaos is everywhere. Collapse doesn't just ruin resources. It ruins routines. The days blur into nights, and without structure, mistakes creep in. That's where an alarm clock comes in. Wind it up, pop in a battery, and it works with zero reliance on charging ports, networks, or anything else tied to modern convenience. Its uses? Endless. You've got guard rotations to organize, because staying in bed instead of waking the next watch could mean the difference between alerting your group to danger or letting it walk right in. Need to figure out how long to boil snow for safe drinking water? Time it. Tracking medical conditions like unconsciousness or fever spikes? That simple tick-tock keeps you vigilant. It's not just practical, it's psychological. Ever notice how losing track of time messes with morale? Fatigue takes over when there's no structure. But when people know they have set breaks and rotations, they work better. Decisions stay sharp, mistakes drop. That rhythmic tick-tocking you used to ignore? Now it's a lifeline. Throw barter into the mix and clocks skyrocket in value. Show up to a stressed group that's missed shifts or burnt through fuel from untimed cooking. And that relic becomes gold. Order in a world of no rules, that's what time offers. My personal setup? 1 wind-up model, 1 battery-powered, both tested, wrapped quietly for transport, and always ready. After all, when everything falls apart, the one controlling time holds all the cards. Point 4. The survival edge of a simple shower scrubber. A shower loofah? Really? Sounds absurd until you find yourself knee-deep in a collapse where hygiene isn't just optional. It's the line between survival and sickness. That small overlooked mesh sponge hanging in your bathroom right now? It's a multi-purpose survival tool that most people wouldn't dream of packing. But those who do, they'll outlast the rest. Here's the deal. When everything falls apart, the first casualty isn't your food supply. It's sanitation. Infection doesn't wait. Filthy hands, dirty surfaces, unwashed skin. These are the cracks that sickness seeps into. And here's where the loofah flips the script. It's not just a shower accessory. It's a water-saving, germ-fighting, and morale-boosting piece of gear. Why does it matter? Because when water is scarce, you can't afford to waste a single drop. The loofah lathers better and faster than hands alone, spreading soap thin so you use less of both soap and water. It clings to suds, making cleaning efficient. Scrape off the grime, rinse lightly, and you're done. Less water wasted, fewer chances for bacteria to make a home on your skin. But don't stop there. A loofah isn't just about your body. It becomes a lifesaver when it comes to cleaning gear. Boots coated in mud? Bloodstains on knives or cookware? The mesh texture of a loofah will scrub it all away without shredding your limited supply of cloth rags. Plus, it dries fast. Toss it on your pack, and you're not stuck with a rotten, bacteria-infested mess to carry around. And here's where it gets even smarter. Barter value. Imagine rolling into a camp where people stink to high heavens, scratching at grime-covered skin, and splashing precious water just to get through the day. You hand them a clean-sealed loofah. Suddenly, you're the one holding all the cards. Want ammo? Meds? Food? That $2 loofah becomes your golden ticket. Because in survival, cleanliness isn't just comfort, it's currency. What about water filtration? Pull a loofah out when you're gathering water from a sketchy source. Use it as a quick strainer for big debris, leaves, dirt, bugs, before sending the water through your primary filter or boiling system. It's not a silver bullet, but but it buys you time and keeps the worst out of your drinking supply. Then there's the mental game. Survival isn't just physical, it's psychological. After days of fear, sweat, and stress, taking just 5 minutes to scrub off the dirt can do wonders for your mindset. Cleaning up resets your headspace, helps you feel human again, and gives you back a small piece of control when everything else is spiraling. Here's my setup. I keep one loofah in every hygiene kit, sealed tight to stay clean until it's needed. They're lightweight, take up no space, and they're cheap enough to stockpile. For trade, I vacuum pack extras, because when the collapse comes, the loofah isn't just a throwaway luxury. It's one of the smartest tools in your kit. Point 5. The hidden survival power of clothespins. Clothespins. Those little wooden or plastic clips most people ignore at the back of a laundry drawer. Ever think they'd be more than just laundry tools? Probably not. But in a grid-down world where nothing works as it's supposed to, clothespins become one of the most ridiculously versatile tools you'll ever have. Here's the thing. Survival tests your ability to adapt. Big-ticket gear looks good on paper, but the small, simple items? Those are what save your skin more often than not. Clothespins fit squarely into that category. They're more than just tools for drying socks. They're miniature problem solvers that you'll use in ways you'd never expect. Drying is the most obvious function. When washing machines and dryers are history, andrain or sweat soak through your gear, you'll need to dry out fast to stave off mold, mildew, and sickness. A handful of clothespins lets you maximize every inch of drying space. Stretch lines between trees, across your shelter, or even inside a vehicle. Clothespins secure everything. Socks, gloves, bandages, you name it. So you're not wasting time or losing gear to the wind. But drying's just the start. Clothespins are perfect for organization. Clip gloves are tools to align so they're easy to grab. Use colored pins to mark bags. Red for first aid, green for food, blue for tools, so you or your group can move fast when every second counts. Even pin notes or instructions in group settings for silent communication. No shouting, no lights. Just simple, efficient updates clipped where everyone can read them. Hygiene? Covered! Hang brushes, razors, or towels off the ground. Keep them clean, dry, and away from the muck. Need to seal an open food bag or wrap up spare supplies when Ziplocs run out? Clothespins step in again as makeshift clamps. And speaking of makeshift, think about emergencies. Need to fasten a field dressing to someone's arm when duct tape isn't an option? Clip it. Want to secure a tarp or foil blanket to your shelter frame during a storm? Clip it. How about holding a poncho in place on a makeshift clothesline to act as cover? Clip it. They're reusable, lightweight, and when you run out of other options, these little tools get the job done. Still doubting? Here's one more use: fire starting. Wooden clothespins break down into perfect kindling. Snap one up, add it to your fire bundle, and you've got an instant flame in wet conditions. When every piece of fuel counts, that bag of clothespins doubles as a stealth fire supply no one saw coming. And don't even get me started on trade value. Thinking no one would trade for a bag of clothespins? Wait until their soaked clothes won't dry, their bandages can't be secured, or their gear is lying around in a heap. You roll in with extra clothespins, clean and ready for use, and suddenly they're willing to hand over what you need. Here's my rule. I never pack less than 20 clothespins in every kit. Half wooden, half heavy-duty plastic. They're cheap, light, and stupidly durable. They fold into my hygiene bag, trade pouch, or camp supply kit without taking up space. And I never ever leave without them. Because in a survival scenario, it's the guy who thinks beyond the obvious, who sees the potential of the little things like clothespins, who stays prepared and thrives when everyone else is struggling. Point 6. Heavy-duty zip bags, your portable survival armor. Here's the thing about survival. It's not just about having supplies, it's about protecting them. And nothing does that better than a heavy-duty zip bag. Not those flimsy sandwich bags you wouldn't trust with a handful of chips, but the thick, freezer-grade, gallon-sized bags that can take a beating. Think of them as your all-weather, all-purpose survival armor. First off, food preservation. You've got dry goods. Rice, beans, flour. That'll keep you alive, but only if you can keep them safe. Humidity? Gone. Rodents? Blocked. Spills? Not happening. Portion those staples into gallon-sized bags, add an oxygen absorber if you've got one, and you've just doubled their shelf life. Don't have a full pantry to manage? Then use them for smaller portions to avoid spoiling what you don't eat right away. It's simple, smart, and keeps your food protected no matter what. But these bags aren't just about food. Imagine this. You're in the rain, your hands are shaking, and you've got to grab gauze to patch a wound fast. Now, if that gauze is waterlogged or caked in mud, it's useless. Place your medical kits in zip bags, and they stay spotless and life-saving. Label each one clearly. Wound care, meds, hydration tabs, and now you've got waterproof, grab-and-go preparedness. What about your electronics? A headlamp, spare batteries, maybe a solar power bank. If these get wet, you're fumbling around in the dark or running blind. Use a heavy-duty zip bag to keep them dry, even during torrential rain or while crossing a river. Bonus tip: wrap your electronics in foil first, then seal them in a bag, and you've got an improvised Faraday cage to protect against an EMP. It's a simple trick, but it might make the difference between staying connected or being thrown back into the Stone Age. Need to move water but don't have a container? Boom, zip bag to the rescue. These bags can act as makeshift water bladders in a pinch. Fill them up, seal them tight, and carry them back to camp without spills. For real ingenuity, wrap the bag in foil and gently heat it over a flame to boil water. Instant sterilization. People might laugh at the very idea, but they won't be laughing when they're thirsty and out of options. Fireproofing your fire-starting kit is another win here. Cotton balls, matches, lighters, they all go inside one of these airtight wonders, staying bone dry no matter how soaked the rest of your gear gets. When everyone else is shivering and struggling to get a flame going, you'll already have a roaring fire at your fingertips. And the barter value? Through the roof. Imagine walking into a camp where someone's last batch of rice got infested by bugs or their survival meds are soggy and useless. You pull out a clean, tough zip bag and suddenly you're their hero. Ammo, food, fuel. They'll trade anything for the ability to keep their remaining supplies safe. For my setup, I pack at least 25 of these bags for every bug-out or survival kit I have. They store flat, weigh nothing, and can replace containers, waterproofing, and even certain storage options. And when it comes to collapse scenarios, you're either preserving your goods, or you're letting chaos eat them away one soggy, ruined item at a time. Point 7. Silicone stretch lids, the heroes of versatile sealing. If survival is about protecting what you gather, it's also about stretching every resource you've got to its absolute limit. Enter silicone stretch lids. These flexible, reusable, and nearly indestructible lids are the unsung heroes that'll save you when traditional containers, covers, and seals fail. They're not trendy kitchen gadgets. They're field-grade survival gear disguised in plain sight. Picture this. You've cooked up a hot meal in a stainless steel pot, but the lid's missing, cracked, or just doesn't fit anymore. You've portioned out a few cups of water, but don't want dust, bugs, or animals getting in. Or maybe you've got open jars, cans, or bowls of supplies you need to save for later. This is where silicone lids come into play, stretching over nearly any surface to create an airtight seal. Here's what makes them a survival essential. Flexibility? They adapt to almost any shape, round, square, oval, or even odd angles. From ceramic to metal to glass, they seal tight, keeping everything secure and free of exposure. No flies, no ash, no mold. And because they're reusable, you'll get hundreds of uses out of them. Unlike plastic wrap or foil that tears, leaks, or contaminates over time. Silicone doesn't rip, doesn't warp, and doesn't turn toxic under heat or cold. You can boil it, freeze it, leave it covered in dirt, then wash it clean and keep going. Here's a survival application you probably haven't thought of. Using these lids as temporary fixes in the field. You've got a cracked water jug? Stretch a lid over it for a patch until you can find a better solution. Need to save rations in a container without a lid? No problem. Silicone lids also minimize scent trails from your food, lowering the chance of attracting unwanted guests like scavenging animals. And the practicality doesn't stop there. Use one to seal water in a bowl and keep it clean for later use. Or cover a pot of stew still sitting on your campfire to keep the heat in, making it last longer during cold nights. When seconds count and resources are limited, that heat retention and protection can make a meaningful difference. They're lightweight, practically invisible in your pack, but their utility is massive. A full set of silicone lids weighs less than a flashlight, but gives you the ability to turn 6 containers into 6 securely sealed food and water storages. And if you're not carrying matching lids or containers into a collapse, and honestly, who is? They can adapt on the fly to the gear you do have. Now, trade value. When everyone else is fumbling around with duct tape or rags to cover their food supplies, your silicone lids will be nothing short of revolutionary. That group with an open stew pot attracting flies? They'll pay whatever it takes to secure a better night's meal. Someone stashing boiled water for the next morning? They'll trade meds and ammo for that tight seal that guarantees it'll still be drinkable. Here's my rule of thumb. I carry 2 full sets in every kit. One for my personal use and one for trading gear. I rotate them regularly to ensure they last and stay clean. Because here's the thing. When the grid goes down and convenience vanishes, the guy who can seal his survival isn't just holding on to food, he's holding on to power. And in a world where everything spoils faster than it should, that's the edge you need to make it through. In times of crisis, the simplest items can become the most valuable. These 7 cheap household items often overlooked in our daily lives, could be the difference between comfort and chaos after a collapse. Stocking up on these essentials now not only ensures you're prepared for the unexpected, but also gives you peace of mind knowing you've taken steps to protect yourself and your loved ones. Remember, preparation doesn't have to break the bank. Sometimes the most priceless tools are the ones hiding in plain sight. Stay ready, stay resourceful, and stay